Is Jeff Bezos going to be the next owner of the Seattle Seahawks? It's quite likely, but there's not necessarily any proof that it's 100% going to happen. Now, it's obviously the offseason in the NFL, and I feel like this is the time where rumors about things that don't have to do with the players, coaches, or on-field things starts to happen. And I buy into it sometimes, and I'm buying into it right now because there's actually some juice behind this one. Now, if it was a report that had no backing or nothing that, was actually seemingly to be likely, I wouldn't even follow this story. But the Jeff Bezos Seahawks news is something that's kind of been relevant for the last few years. Now, remember, Jeff Bezos is a fan of the NFL. He was at a, Kansas City versus Rams game recently in Arrowhead, I think last year or the year before. He also built Amazon in Seattle. Now, let's go back to the real thing behind all this is the fact that longtime Seahawks owner Paul Allen passed away in 2018. The ownership was passed to his sister, Jody Allen. And for those that don't know this, there's a mandate that she must eventually sell the team. He wanted her to donate the proceeds to a charitable cause that he supported. But it's been 6 years and she has not sold the team yet. So, obviously, there's been long rumored, when is she going to do it? And there's been a lot of rumors about, is Jeff Bezos one of those potential guys? Well, Jeff Bezos was selling off nearly $5 billion in Amazon shares recently. And the interesting thing behind all of that is, according to Forbes, the Seahawks were recently valued at roughly or nearly $5 billion last year. So, is it possible that this money that's being moved around is for getting somebody like the Seattle Seahawks? It's very possible. Last year, let's not forget, when the Washington Commanders were for sale, he started to put together a bid, but it looks like it just didn't work out, or that, the other group that came in, I think it's the group that owned the 76ers in Philadelphia, they had a better group of bidding, so he pulled out early, didn't really put a full bid. And the Washington Commanders were $6.05 billion on Forbes valuation. I believe they sold for something near that. I can't exactly remember what the full sale was, but it was 6.05. So it did sell for exactly by Josh Harris's group. Now, the Seahawks are a little cheaper. Jeff Bezos obviously built Amazon in Seattle. Now, Jeff Bezos has moved away from Seattle to Florida, but I don't really think that makes a difference. When you're buying a team, you're buying a team. It doesn't really matter. You look at Steve Ballmer. He flies from his Medina home in Seattle or in Bellevue, whatever you want to call it. He takes private jets to LA to go to Clippers games, maybe sleeps a night there and flies back to Seattle. When you're a billionaire, you can do whatever you want. Jeff Bezos could buy a home in Seattle and come back and forth. Football season's only 17, maybe 18 games soon in the near future. Jeff Bezos, though, has been wanting a team. He's been known to be a guy that wants to be involved in the NFL, and the NFL wants Jeff Bezos involved. That's the other thing that a lot of these reporters are showing is other owners and the league itself, Roger Goodell, are interested in having Jeff Bezos become part of the NFL. It's obviously a big name. It's big money. It's good for the league. It's good for connections. The Seahawks are valued at $5 billion, and he sold off his $5 billion in shares. So could the Seahawks be what lures him back at a part-time basis, I guess, to Seattle? I think yes. I mean, when you're the second wealthiest person in the world and you have an interest in being in a sports league, what better than to go buy the team of the city that you built pretty much the biggest company in America or in the world, Amazon. You're building one of the biggest companies in the world. You built it in Seattle, one of the biggest names in the world. So I think it's very possible that he does it. Despite moving to Florida, despite not having, when people say he's worth $200-something billion, it's not all in cash, but he sold off that $5 million in cash. And that makes it, very likely that he is trying to make a move towards getting the Seattle Seahawks. Now, I guess the big thing is, what would the fans think? How do the fans feel? I feel like there's a shaky belief or feeling with Jeff Bezos, right? Some don't love him, don't love what they did to the city and Amazon, I guess. And some people think it's great, right? It's great for the city of Seattle. Some people believe it's, he helped grow Seattle, put it even more on the map. But obviously, there's been some swirls about how they've treated employees or how the workplace has been. So obviously, knowing, the Seattle fans, knowing what people think of Jeff Bezos, I think there'd be a little bit of toss-up if people like it. The nice thing is, as I said, he recently sold $5 billion in stocks. He sold stocks last year in $8.5 billion, so freed up $13.5 billion in cash. If you put that towards a team and a guy has unlimited billions of dollars, it could be good for your team in general. Now, it's not baseball where it's an unlimited salary cap, but in general, as the salary cap keeps going up, it's important to have an owner that has money that is able to spend on players, spend on improvements to the facilities, which we don't need right now, but improvements to everything, right? Pay a head coach more money. You look at a team like the Los Angeles Chargers. Because they're in LA now, not in San Diego, they have the money to go sign a Jim Harbaugh to a crazy big deal. The Seahawks, one day, if Coach Mike McDonald becomes the next Sean McVay and they need to give him a $100 million coaching deal, when you have an owner that has money, it becomes more possible, especially when they want to win and they want to do things the right way. You see the Cowboys. Jerry Jones didn't have as much money as somebody like Jeff Bezos, but because of how valuable the Cowboys got, he was able to build Jerry's world. They're doing world-class events in Dallas. They're doing World Cups, Copa Americas, Super Bowls, whatever you want to call it. When you have rich owners or a rich base, a team that's rich, you start to get things for that city and for that place. Now, I wish Jeff Bezos would buy the Seattle Mariners if they were for sale, because you could start signing people like Shohei Ohtani and Juan Soto and give $300-400 million contracts, because money would not be a thing. But that's not the case here. It's the Seattle Seahawks. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen with this. The Seahawks need a new owner, and Jeff Bezos would be at the top of that list. I mean, at the end of the day, it's Amazon, it's the money, and I think, when NFL gets involved in these type of things, if the Seahawks are for sale and Jeff Bezos puts his name in, I think they would ensure that he's near the top of the list. The Seahawks are $5 billion, like I said. They're right in the middle of most expensive. Nobody tops. Cowboys are number one at $9 million, Patriots at $7 million, and then the rest start to get closer. Rams at 6.9, Giants 6.8, Bears 6.3, Raiders 6.2, Jets 6.1, Commanders sold for 605, $6 billion for the 49ers, Eagles 5.8, 5.7 for the Dolphins, 5.5 for the Texans, 5.1 for the Broncos, and we're at 14th, right in the middle at $5.1 billion. I think it's a team that their value can keep going up. I think we can get somewhere near that San Francisco because of the tech money. And San Francisco went down a little bit, but some of that tech money. Also, when you win games, it seems like your values go up. I mean, if you look down near the bottom, like, I don't know if the Chargers, they're in LA, they're at $4.15 billion. If Chargers win a Super Bowl, they're a $5 billion, $6 billion team all of a sudden in LA. And winning a Super Bowl, it makes a big difference. But Jeff Bezos can afford this team, and Jeff Bezos might be the one that's, the one that's going to happen. It was reported by the Washington Post. It was back in 2019 that Jeff Bezos knows that Seattle is sitting there when the Commanders ultimately sold to a group led by Josh Harris, and Jeff Bezos did not make a push. That's the interesting thing there is when he had a bid for the Commanders, he tried for a little bit. They came with a bigger bid. He didn't push. He stepped back. He wasn't told to not go. He stepped back. But with this report, they're saying that he knows the Seahawks were there. I think it'd be great for Seattle and for the Seahawks to have an owner of that wealth, that much money, and that much notoriety. I like that type of stuff. Some people don't. But I just see it as power, a position of, especially if he doesn't want to get too involved, if he doesn't want to become Jerry Jones, he wants to become the rich owner, but that sits back and just makes the right decisions, pays the bills, supports the team. There's a really good chance that we're looking at a really cool future for the Seahawks if that's the case. If not, I'm not really sure what many options are there. I don't think Steve Ballmer seems to be, doing his thing with the Clippers. There's obviously a bunch of random ones that would come out of nowhere that we're not expecting, but Jeff Bezos seems like the best possible option. Do you think the Seahawks and Jeff Bezos would be a good mix, or do you think it's just kind of smoke screens right now? Just talk. Let me know. Like and subscribe. I love y'all. We'll be back. Peace.